great to see a bunch of faces here that we've seen before and a bunch of faces I haven't seen before. So thank you all for coming. So yeah, looking forward to hopefully a really valuable and fruitful day for you all. This isn't just about us and our tech and what we're doing. This is an opportunity for us to bring a whole range of really like-minded individuals together for the betterment of the industry ultimately. So have some great conversations. We hope we can help facilitate that here for you today. And yeah, we're going to kick off today with a bit of a look at us, Cabinetry.Online. So firstly, I wanted to introduce you to some of our team, and you probably know this from, you might not have even seen my face before. So this is 2/3 of our team. The other third we couldn't fit in on here. So we've grown pretty significantly in the last few years. We're now a team of 35. So yeah, and that's across our internal development and QA team, our tech support team who are on the phone. They're probably, if you're an existing client, they're the people that you would have probably talked to the most out of anything. And our admin and sales and marketing team. So a bit of a look at some faces in there. And while we're at it, a little quick brag from our side. Last year we took out the Business of the Year award for the Geelong Business Excellence, which we're incredibly proud of. There was over 600 entrants in there, and yeah, we took out the top award for that. So the reason I wanted to bring that up is, I guess, it's to show that you guys should have faith in what we're doing. We've been judged by a panel of highly successful businesses, and yeah, little brag in there. But this session's all about our tech, okay? So I want to bring you up to speed on some of the things that we've been working on. Generally, we'll run an update session once a year. Because we knew we had this one coming up, we've had this in the works for about 6 months, this day today. We decided to delay our usual update, which is usually at the start of the year. And so everything that we're going to talk about is since our last update, which was early February last year. So since our last webinar, this is a bit of an idea, and when I talk about numbers on here, this is purely numbers that our development team have worked on, so work issues, tasks, and they range from things like bugs and minor fixes to improvements to the application. So improvements are things that there's existing functionality, but we're making it a bit easier to use, a bit nicer to use, that sort of stuff. We've had 125 new features and 118 quality of life changes. So quality of life changes and improvements to app are fairly similar. So 973 things that we've resolved as a team and completed in that time at an average of 2.9 tickets per business day. And you'll be very grateful to know that I'm going to cover every single one off in this session today. No, I'm not. I'm probably going to waffle on a bit. So I want to cover off firstly the main sort of improvements and features that we have released in the last bit over 12 months. And the first one, what I want to do when I talk about these things is not just, hey, we did this. I want to talk a little bit about why we did it, okay? So the first thing I'll talk a little bit about was the colour browser functionality. So a little over 12 months ago, we embarked on a journey of getting a better understanding from end customers what their pain points, what their hurdles were. And a lot of the things we're hearing through these calls were struggling to find what I'm after. I really want this colour and I can't seem to find it. So we did a deep dive into finding out how do we make this easier for customers to find what they're after. And ultimately we landed on this colour browse function, which has a pretty rich search functionality, text-based, if they know the colour that they're after, which being a lot of trade-based customers, they're coming to the app not to window shop, they're coming to find what they're after for their customer. So they can type in a colour name, they can search on the side and yeah, make it really visual and appealing with colour chip style of ordering. So that was our colour browser. I'm going to try to get through these pretty quickly. I've got a bit to cover off before we get into, halfway through the session, we're going to jump into a bit on a couple of really exciting announcements we've got to make. So the second thing that we've done in the last sort of 12 or 18 months has been become really obsessed about the user experience and user interface. And that has culminated in making sure that the app, although we don't have a mobile app, we've tried to make it as customer friendly and as evergreen across many different types of applications. So mobile, tablet, in Androids, in iPhones, and that has led to a lot of really responsive design. A lot of these things you probably might not have even noticed behind the scenes. We don't always publish these on our roadmap. We added Google Address autocomplete and an address book. And why is this important? Again, listening to responses from people like yourself who are saying, oh, we get issues where a customer has entered in their address wrong, or they've miskeyed a number on a postcode or whatever it is. Looking at ways to streamline that to make it easier so that when the customer submits a job and they've got an address on there for delivery, it's right. So that's been a really important addition to the team. It also makes it a lot quicker for a customer to get into a job as well. We also added some better tools around variation management. So variations, when a customer asks for something extra to be done outside of what they can do within the app. Previously, when you had assigned a cost to that and revert it back to the customer, they pretty much had no options of what they can do from there. So we made it available now so the customer can actually remove that variation if they decide, actually, you know what, I can just handle that on site. I don't want to pay $25 for you to do a cutout in it for me. So giving them a bit more flexibility with how they handle that job when it comes through. And the other big change here was allowing customers to revert that job back into processing entirely. So basically, they've decided, actually, I need to go in and make more changes after this job's come back. They can now do all that. We've also done a bunch of work around benchtops. So this is the first of a couple of things that we added in the last 12 months. So adding arc ends and curved corners to benchtops, making this really clean through the UI so it's easy for customers to access, to modify things like radiuses, and ultimately giving you some tools as well to make these either preset, so particularly on curved corners, you don't want the ability to change them, or giving preset sizes for if they assign to an arc to the end of a bench top. We also added butt join capability. So this was one of a few really hotly voted on features, I guess. And one of the things that we look at when we look to doing some development on the application, a feature and improvement, is we're always try to be guided by what our clients, what you guys want. And we'll talk a little bit about that later on. Internally, we refer to it as customer-led development. So it's all about making sure that we're pointing the direction, the pathway of the product down the line of where you need it, and that's based on obviously where your customers are saying that they would like. So we added butt joints, and they can be controlled per material actually, and you can set the maximum number of butt joints that you want to allow per top, just to add some levels of restrictions in there. We also added an AI chatbot to our platform, and this is all about giving you guys a bit more instant access to knowledge base. So it allows you to use natural language. So rather than you needing to know specific keywords or criteria to find some help on a particular thing, if you can't get it, if it's outside business hours, or you're wanting some of that instant gratification on an answer straight away, you can now jump in there, type in sort of natural language or how you would ask it, and it will give you a response based on our knowledge base that sits behind all that. And that's just the first of a few AI-based features that we are looking at implementing moving forward. We also added edit and delete minimum job charge or minimum usage fee. That's a bit of a mouthful, but basically put you in the scenario, your customer's placed a job and it's got 10 sheets of a colour board, right? But then the job's gone through, they've approved it, and then 2 weeks later they've realised, shit, I forgot to add in a panel, okay? So in the past it was go back in, place another job, and we'll handle it when it comes through. Only challenge is with the minimum usage fee that is automatically applied to the order there, is that you might have half a sheet of that material left over, and the customer doesn't want to pay for an offcut, okay? Fair enough. So now you're actually able to go in there and remove that out of the order before you approve it. You can also remove out or vary minimum charge fees. So minimum charge fees are when a customer starts an order. It's the minimum amount that they're going to pay. While we're on sort of variations, we also gave you a tool so that you can now add in extra variations post-job submission. So that means something like maybe you've had a conversation, an email chain with a customer where they want something specific done with their order. It could be packing, it could be on the job in general, whatever it may be. This allows you to add that in as a post variation and then send it back through to the customer for them to approve. Going back down through that job approval chain, making sure that any pricing changes are acknowledged by the customer effectively. We also added requested delivery date options. So use case for this, or sort of the requirements, or why this one come up, is we heard a lot about customers who, particularly if they're a cabinet making client ordering from their manufacturer, and they're trying to plan out their workload, I guess. Being able to sort of load up jobs and say, I want to submit this now, it's got sign off from my customer, but I'm not going to be starting it for 3 weeks, therefore, I want you to approve it and get it in the cycle, but I don't want to pick this up. So this now allows clients to be able to request a delivery date on an order. And the great thing about this is if they add that in now, say, and then things have changed, and when they come back in to modify that job, if that threshold that you've set, it might be 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, whatever you've set the threshold is the next available date that they can select. If it's crossed over that threshold, then it will automatically prompt them when they enter the job to update to a new delivery date. We've also, you might have noticed on the back end in your management portal, the manufacturer portal, we've been doing a lot of UI. So UI, for those that don't know, is user interface. That's basically what you interact with, right? So we've been doing a lot of improvements and quality of life changes to the manufacturer UI. 2020 was when we embarked on redoing the whole customer interface into what it is today. And a part of that is moving that over to some new technology, which is, I won't call it because you probably won't care, but anyway. So part of that is we're now integrating that technology in the back end, which gives us a lot of flexibility to use new tools and technologies. So on the materials page, as an example, we've added, now you can view the color swatches, those columns, whether you might not even know this, you can actually click and reorder those columns. So if there's a particular field that's important to you that you want to have, closer look at, or you can actually click and drag and reorder that. We also added the ability so that you can click on that settings cog on the top right hand corner and actually show what columns are actually displaying to you. You'll probably find that there's a few columns in the list that either you don't care about or you don't care about that often. So what that allows you to do is make sure that when you come to these pages, you're coming usually to make a change, whether that's visibility, pricing, and so being able to toggle down those columns and make sure that it's only using or displaying options that are relevant to you is just going to help navigation-wise quite a lot. We also added a couple of shortcut buttons up the top right-hand corner of your screen, and that's great so that if you want to, if you've got a couple of particular areas of the app that you use a lot, rather than going through the menus and finding it, you're actually able to set them as a shortcut for yourself. And you can do that, if it says shortcut, like that one on the right does, you literally just click on it and then it will prompt you to set that shortcut. So it's pretty easy. Once you've set a shortcut, right-click on it and you can update it and change it to something else as well. This is a really big one that has probably been a pretty hotly requested feature, which is the ability for you to upload all your pricing via CSV. So what we did is the ability to dump all out your material, hardware, part, all your pricing and availability. That's been around for ages. So now we added the ability for you to modify that in Excel, and then re-import that back in. So obviously when it's in Excel, you've got great tools in there. You can add filters, you can do text searches and whatever. When it becomes web-based, we become a little bit limited in terms of how many results we display in one page from navigation perspective and speed. But once it's in Excel, we can use all those tools to modify, use formulas and stuff. And then as long as it comes back in as a CSV, it'll import. There's also a really important download backup link there as well, which it gives you a reminder of. And what that will do is before it uploads that price, it'll actually download a backup for you. So if you have made a mistake, you've always got a reference point you can revert back to. We added some custom freight instructions, so that just allowed you, we kind of had some default placeholder text for freight, not applicable to everyone. Obviously, everyone's scenario is a little bit different, so this just allows you to set some custom text, whack in a picture of your truck if you want. So I know you've got a nice truck with a forklift on the back, so maybe you should stick that in there so your clients know how their job's coming to them. This is another one that came from a request. This is from the Cut Shop guys. Where are they? Okay, there we go. Which was the ability to copy a job when you're in your manufacturer portal. So that functionality has been around forever for a customer. They could, once they've started an order, they can copy it. as many times as they want. But we added that feature on the back end, and it probably doesn't sound like a big deal, but actually there's a really lot of use cases for this one. So one would be, let's say you've got a customer that comes in and they're a new client, they're wanting to get started. Two pathways forward. You can either create them an account, get them to log in then and there, and they run through a job with them, or the alternative might be, we've got an internal use account, let's just go through this now and we'll start adding in some products, right? They might bring in a plan or something with them. Right, you're all comfortable with that. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to set you up with an account, and now I'm going to go into my back end of the portal. I'm going to copy that, and then on that right-hand side up the top, you can see the dialog that says copy job ID. That actually allows you to copy that job from one of your customers to another one. So another great use case for this one would be if you've got some templated jobs in your main profile, it might be a run of cabinets or a vanity or whatever it might be, you can copy that to any of your customer profiles. So thanks, Cutshop, for that suggestion. Along with our updates for pricing via CSV upload, we also added the same functionality on customer lists. So great for if you're wanting to make pricing adjustments. So that's your percentage markup on your customers. If you're wanting to vary things like minimum freights, basically for any bulk updates, you might decide, you've obviously got your default price adjustments in there, but start of the new financial year, we're doing a 3% increase on all our clients, so you can just dump your list out, modify it, and then re-import that back in. So nice, handy one there. Also really good for labels. If you haven't used labels or not, really powerful tool, and maybe some of our guys that are talking a little bit later on in some of the other sessions can talk to how you can make the most out of them. But labels are basically a way for you to segment and identify your customer types. So it could be a retail, trade, builder, a cash account, whatever it may be. And you can assign those labels in the import. So rather than going through each one, click add. We added a quick add to cart. So this is one of our more recent features. And this basically, again, from feedback from a customer. This one come from one of the clients from Province Brothers, and these guys will be up in one of our sessions later on today having a bit of a chat. And their customer Sam said to them, look, I love the system, but I just go through and whack in all the cupboards and get a quick quote and then go back to my customer. Then if I get sign off from them, I'll come back in and be a bit more particular and make sure I've got my margins, or I've got all the fillers that I need. So this really leans into that. A couple of things this does. One, it makes it really easy for a new customer to come in and just go, bang, add that to cart. What's the price? The other thing it makes it easy to do is for an end client to be able to, again, quote out a job really quickly. It takes about a second or two to add it to cart, and that'll be based on all the defaults that are already assigned in that room. So now we move on to some of our more recent features around the 3D visuals that we've been working really hard on. So it's coming up nearly 12 months since we launched the 3D product visualizer. One of our biggest feature launches behind the scenes, an incredible amount of work went in this from not just our product and development team, also our tech support team who put in a lot of hard work in terms of helping to build the templates or the models for these. And basically these, as you would know, they're interactive, so they're going to adapt as the customer enters in their different materials, their different sizes, different configurations on the cabinets. The really interesting thing out of all this is that since implementing this, we've seen a 20% increase in job conversion rates. So giving that customers the confidence that I pull this lever, I can see what it does. So it's been a really important addition to the platform, and it's something that we're continually working on, improving on, moving forward. On the back of that, we also are basically doing a set of caching on product images. What that basically means in layman's terms is when a customer modifies a product and saves it to their cart, at that point in time, we will take a snapshot, a capture of an image of that model. We save that, and then everywhere that product is referenced in the PDF, in the detailed cart view, we replaced the normal static image, which wouldn't change. 12 months ago, we didn't have this. So it would, they'd add in a cabinet and, oh, well, I've modified my drawer fronts. Why is that not showing on the static image? So now they're getting a really quick visual snapshot of this is the product I've added in, and a really great visual confirmation that they can check it through, obviously in conjunction with their PDF, but a great tool for them to be able to see the exact product that they've added in. So on the back of that, you would obviously have seen in the last few months the job PDF that we have also updated. So it was a pretty crusty old PDF, the one that we had, and we decided to give that a bit of a spruce up, and it's really nice now, I think. What do you all think? Yep, happy with it. One of the great things we did as part of this, though, was build out an index page on the back of it. Particularly good if people are viewing this from a device, so whether that be on mobile or on desktop. All the product numbers and names are hyperlinked. So particularly if they've got a big job, there's 50, 100 products in it. Going through to the section to find the relevant product can be a little bit tricky. Lots of scrolling or lots of flipping through like I'm trying to do here. But now if they're on a device, they can click on that and that'll take them straight to the product. So one of the little side note, we've seen a couple of our clients who print these out to give them to their customers, and what they'll do is they'll print them out so that there's 2 pages to a single page, and then it'll fold into a little booklet like that. So quite a nice little tip or reference point, just not as many pages either, which is nice. So yeah, part of this upgrade to the technology here, and you might have noticed some changes that we've made to this in the last few months, is we now cache these PDFs. So as the customer is working on it, again, while we're storing the images, we're storing the updates to the PDFs. So they are now becoming quicker to load, and we've also created a preview screen. So if there are things that aren't cached yet, so if they've quickly added a few products and they haven't updated the models, it'll give them a preview screen they can view before being able to download that. So lots of work going on our side around customer experience and user experience and user interface. I'll put that one down. Another big one out of the PDF upgrade, there's a big QR code there. If you've got your phone handy, grab it and have a look. This is on every product that a model is generated for. Let me just go in and do that myself. Make sure I'm not lying. Every product that has a model, we generate a QR code for, okay? And so what that will do on your device, you don't have to be logged in. This is anyone. You don't have to be logged into the account that was ordered on. You don't have to be logged into your manufacturer portal. Anyone that has access to that PDF can basically go up, bang, scan the QR code, and then they will get an interactive version of that model on their phone. And from there, they can do things like close and open doors, wireframe, different views. This is a particularly handy one, I think, if, say, a job's going out to site and the person that's either assembling or installing hasn't had anything to do with it, great little reference point they can scan and have a look at the items that are in there. Also, it's pretty cool technology as well. There's a lot of background work gone into this. Because that QR code is also hyperlinked, so if you're viewing that on your device, whether it be a desktop or whatever, it's hyperlinked. That just means you can click on it. Sometimes QR codes are great if you're scanning it from a device, but if you're on a desktop looking at it can be a bit tricky. So we added an invisible hyperlink to that, which basically means you can click on it and that'll fire it up. So if you wanted to, and this was one that come from when we went out and saw our Craftmark guys, they said, oh, this is cool. It'd be great if our guys on the assembly stations were able to bring it up and see it. So like, we can do that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So we, now that I've waffled on a little bit about some of the things we've been working on in the last 12 months or so, next up we've got a couple of announcements we'd like to talk about. So the first one is we are partnering up with JobMan for an integration between our 2 technologies. So we're really excited about this one. For those that don't know, who doesn't know what JobMan is? Here, put your hands up. Couple? Yep. So JobMan, as I'll pretty much read off screen, so I'll make sure I'm getting this right. So they are an ERP system built specifically for the manufacturing industry, particularly for the cabinet making industry. So it handles a whole range of different things from CRM, quoting, invoicing, job management, planning, scheduling, purchase ordering, but ultimately it's all built around streamlining woodworking businesses and making it easier to get through more of the operational side of things. So why are we partnering with JobMan? A whole number of reasons, actually. One is we've got a number of our current clients that use it. One of the big ones here, they're an Australian developed software like us, and that's really important to us. We're really proud of that, and I know those guys are as well. And we want to work not just with Australian companies, but it's particularly nice when you're working with people in your own backyard. So there's not a lot in the cabinet making industry space, software-wise, companies now that are born and bred here and continue to be developed. As you know, it's pretty well dominated by the internationals. So it's something that collectively, JobMan and Cabinetry.Online, we're really proud of. So really cool to be able to work through a bit of an integration with these guys. It also complements our product and service offering. And they do things really well that we don't do. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel, we decided to work with best in class. The other thing here, it's becoming more commonplace across cabinet making businesses across Australia. So another reason, but also the founders are really driven to improving the industry, which is something where, that's the whole reason we decided to run this set of workshops today, is all about the betterment and furtherment of the industry and making sure we can keep manufacturing local. So I know Aaron and the team there are right in line with that, and we've had some really great conversations with them, not only about this integration, but about today and just more broadly. Some of the chats we've had with them have been really fruitful. So basically, this integration is looking like we're scoped out 2 phases of it. The first phase, bit of a technical thing here, so we're using OAuth 2.0. Basically, all that means is really highly secure authentication, which basically allows our 2 apps to talk to each other. So we're not deeply embedded within each other, but rather we're setting up a structure so that it's highly secure authorization so that we can send data back and forth to each other. So the first part of that is allowing you to connect from your app, from our portal, to your login within theirs. As you can see down the bottom there, phase 1 ETA is probably around 2 to 4 weeks away, so we're pretty close to being ready to go on this. So what integration phase 1 will also do is when a client of yours signs up through your Cabinetry.Online portal, it's going to automatically add them as a contact within your JobMan, so that when this job does eventuate, or if you just want to contact them for whatever reason, you're going to have consistency between the 2 apps. The other thing it's going to do is when we're going to create a lead automatically in JobMan when the customer in your portal creates a new job. So when they go create a job and they start filling in their details and create a quote, we're going to basically swing a request over to JobMan and say, create a lead for that particular contact that we set up before. Once the order is submitted and then approved by you, it's then going to update that lead in JobMan to be a quote and then convert that into a job as well. And then the last stage of this is we're going to be working with JobMan to feedback updates. So things like estimated completion dates in Cabinetry.Online can be updated automatically based on changes within JobMan. So we're pretty excited about all this. The second part of this, which is going to be super powerful, and I know a lot of people are really going to like this, is allowing JobMan to really be the source of truth for pricing. So what that means is you'll be able to, rather than having to update pricing and availability in 2 different locations, we will be giving JobMan the permission, or you will be allowing JobMan to give you that permission to make those updates on your behalf. So again, you'll then have one source of truth for controlling your pricing and availability. And we're looking at this phase 2 somewhere around sort of the later part of the year. And this is just a bit of a data flow in terms of what's going to be happening. So as you can see, the arrows indicate data being sent from one platform to the other. Announcement number 2, I think a few people might have seen it on the planning table out there. So we would really like to use this opportunity, and really grateful that we can use this opportunity to introduce to you all our new 3D room planner tool, which went very softly live on Wednesday night. It's not yet available for all customers. If you would like access to it, let us know, with a big caveat that we are working through some little kinks in it still. But the 3D room planning tool is really giving us an opportunity to leverage off that technology we've built around these product visuals that we've been creating on the individual cabinet level, allowing clients to grab them, and once they've added that product to their job, have a room that they can design in, and it will be a standalone designer as well. They don't have to go through the original or the traditional way of more catalogue-based ordering, where it's pick a product, set your size, add to cart. This will give them a more design-based approach for ordering their job, and this is all falling in line with everything else that you love about the platform. Instant pricing. It's going to give them that ability to, go through and do a pretty little picture. So this is a very early release of it. Still a long way to go. Ultimately, what you see here is we've built this in 6 months. So it's been an incredible journey for our development team. They put in a lot of hard work and blood, sweat and tears to get it over the line this week. So very thankful to those guys for that. And this is, we're just getting started on all this. And this is all about moving people away from, rewind sort of 10 years ago when the app first launched. It was a tool for customers to specify a job, right? Pick a product, put in your size, add it to cart. Way back then we had like next to no visuals, right? It was super rudimentary, incredibly hard, I think, to navigate, which I think it proved the fact that there was a lot of motivated people that wanted to order cut to size. And I think if 10 years ago those people, I don't know if they're still around, hopefully they're still using it and have seen the app change through the time, but now we're really becoming really obsessed about making sure that the customer has a really clear idea of what they're ordering. So it's moving from visualizing those individual products to now on the right you can see that product. And both interfaces will still exist, and either methodology of ordering will be there for people if that's their preference. If they don't need to do a design, then they don't have to. They can still go through and just bang, 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 add to cart. It's ultimately giving customers flexibility and options. So just touching on, I guess, wrapping up a little bit about this. So it is an exciting extension of our 3D product visualizer, allowing customers to customize their room sizes, shapes, ceiling heights, all that sort of stuff, and giving them access to designing full rooms with real cabinet models. It's drag and drop. There's also a PDF generation process through this, which I think, this slide shows. So cool little animation that will show the customer basically building all the views and reports, and then they'll get a nice PDF out the back of it. Still a little bit rusty at the moment. We're working through some optimizations around the way we display measurements and how that PDF is generated, but ultimately this will be all built into the process automatically, caching those through the process. So when you come to approve a job, that's just another tool in your arsenal that you can see, not just their breakdown of their order, but also a design layout if they've got it. Moving on, so again, that's phase one that is live now. And again, if you're interested in getting a preview access to that on maybe an internal use customer account, let us know. I'm happy to set that up for you. Phase two is going to look at basically just refining this, making it nicer, easier, and more easy to use. Things like multi-select cabinets, selecting products to then replace it with a like item of a similar size. So, instead of that 3-drawer cabinet, they've decided to switch that out to the same size cabinet, but it's a 2-door. Things like that we are going to be building into phase two, and then further phases will focus more on the actual sort of rendering capabilities. Any questions so far, guys? We do have a Q&A slot towards the end of this, but...
Sorry, Justin. Yeah. Just out of curiosity, with those individual cabinets that you've got stuck to the QR code, are you able to add in the functionality for an end customer that will say, this is how to assemble it? The left end, the bottom, the right end.
Great question. One of the things that we are doing, I meant to mention this before actually, it's almost like we planned it, Rod. The QR codes that are on the cabinet, we can actually map through onto the production labels as well. So might pass this one around, or if people want to have a look at it, Dan, you can maybe run it around. So there's a little QR code there, and it says view in 3D. At the moment, that just takes the customer or whoever's scanned the QR code to the completed model. But our vision for that is for it to take them through to that specific part. So it'll show the model, but have that part, that's a draw front. It'll highlight that on the model to show them. So not so much assembly, but anything's possible once we're at that level for sure. All right, coming soon. Probably a bit more of a boring one for you guys. Nothing that you're actually going to see, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's going to be important. Behind the scenes, we are doing and have been working on for the last 6 months a big technology upgrade, which is basically moving us to a newer version of PHP. So PHP, for those that don't know, and if you think of this in terms of car speak, so PHP is the engine under the bonnet, right? So it's the driving force behind the platform. And we're doing a version upgrade on this, which is basically going to increase efficiency by about 20%. So we're expecting to get about a 20% performance improvement to the site, which is going to be great. And that'll obviously mean things like site pages are going to load quicker, especially during busy periods, but it's also going to mean quicker save times, faster navigating, all that sort of stuff. It also is going to mean better stability because we're going to be making sure we're on the latest and greatest technology, but also future-proofing so that we can invest in building out all these quality of life changes and improvements because we're on the latest tech. So that's an exciting one. Again, behind the scene, from what your guys' perspective, you won't know anything until it's launched, and then you'll probably notice a bit of a speed increase, but massive effort and undertaking from our dev team on the back end. We are also, this is a pretty cool one, and as I say there, data is king, right? So we are working on a series of activity logs that's going to allow you to be able to be really granular and seeing what your users are doing, and also seeing what you're doing yourself in your platform. So this would be things like, I'm not sure if you can really see it there, it's probably not the best screenshot, but basically down the bottom here, it's telling us our customer over here, 928 Cooper Cabinets, my test account, got a job number there, created a room for that job. Over here, now this hasn't been formatted nicely, we'll make it look a lot nicer and easier to consume, but it's done things like I've updated the job and set a delivery address, logged in. So we're going to be tracking and making it really easy for you to see what your customers are doing, and I think that'll help a lot, not just to get a better understanding on what users are doing within the platform, but if you need to troubleshoot for whatever reason, a customer brings up, I tried to do this and it didn't work, or the price has gone up, why is that? You'll have a really clear data log of what's going on, and that'll all be sortable by dates, events, so if you want to look for something specific, you'll be able to do that. The user, job ID, or all that sort of stuff. So just giving a really rich set of data that you can use basically however you want. On the back of that, on the back of the data logging that we're doing in activity logs is building a really rich set of information that we can use to extract a lot better, more high quality and a broader range of reporting. I know this is something that a few clients have certainly raised, that they'd like some different options for reporting. So don't have a lot to show you what that looks like, but basically it's going to be using that data set so that you can look at really granular information, basically customized reports however you want, which is going to be really, really good. The next one I think is going to be really interesting to see the uptake on is a CSV or an Excel file upload. So a great use case for this will be, let's say you've got a client who's generating a cabinet list or a panel list, and they're like, I don't want to have to re-enter that, but they want to use you for a supplier, right? So this tool will allow them to basically drop a file, and then when that file has been dropped in, again, you probably can't really see that, but it'll be a mapping tool, so they'll be able to basically go through and say, these are my column headers, these are what they mean, this is the product, this is height, width, depth, and then map those across to products in the library. And so, yeah, a couple of different formats there. The other thing we're looking at doing here is had a few instances where with some of our clients we're working with, they've had their customers come to them and say, I want to supply some flat packs to some customers. So they get set up with their own portal, but then they don't have facility to manufacture it and want to send that through. So we're going to add a way that they'll be able to download their job file and dump that in. So yeah, if you want to set up like a bit of a network, it'll make it really easy for those particular individual on-sellers basically to be able to take an order that they've approved for their customer and dump it in and get it ordered through your platform. So there's a few use cases in there we think will be really good. Again, whether it's a door list or a cutting list or a cabinet list, they're all going to be able to be mapped through and quickly and easily added into a job. We are adding extended shelf options, so different shelf thicknesses. Probably been a bit of a bugbear of a few people for a while. So that's coming. It'll basically just lean on the material options that you've already got in the platform. And if there's a thicker option available for the option they've got set for their carcass, it'll just present in that list. The good thing about this is it's all going to lean into the current minimum usage stuff. So if they've got a whole job and they've only got one cabinet with a 25mm thick shelf, then it will cost in a full sheet of that still, which is going to be great.
Sorry, Justin. Will that also apply for edging as well?
That's coming.
Yeah.
Yep. Additional shelf drilling options. Yeah, so also being able to set, obviously we've got adjustable and fixed at the moment, but being able to specify, I don't want any shelves, but I want the whole thing drilled system 32. So that's coming also. So a roadmap for the tail end of this year, aside from that stuff that we're working on. One of the really cool things we are got the ball rolling on is a payment integration. So another partnership we are doing with Stripe. If you don't know what Stripe is, it's a payment provider who basically powers some of the world's biggest applications. So Amazon, Google, Airbnb, you can see the names on there. And what this basically means is we are going to be doing integration with these guys so that you can take instant payment through your portal. Outside of the pure nuts and bolts of being able to take payment, there's going to be a stack of work we're doing also around on allowing you to define payment schedules. So whether it's full payment before proceeding ahead, whether it's part payment by percentage or whatever it may be, and then capture that payment at that stage. And then when the next payment comes due, send them to like a payment collection screen like the one on the right. Now, the cool thing about Stripe is they've got a stack of integrations that they do out of the box. So things like Afterpay, Klarna, Google and Apple Pay. So if you've got a client who wants to use that, again, might be more of a DIY type customer that you've had come on board and they're like, hey, can I do payment over 4? Well, they could use their Afterpay in line with that. We're adding some freight and packaging options. So when a customer creates a job and they select they want freight, you'll be able to define a list of different freight options that you might want to offer. So it could be things like wrap per cabinet, crating it, pallet stacking, and this will allow you to charge different freight rates depending on what they've selected. And that can either be as a fixed percentage on a job. So it might be if they choose, I want to, all my cabinets wrapped individually per cabinet, that it's going to be 3% on the job. Or it could be a fixed rate, it's $150 for us to do that. And all this will be able to be configured if you do have depots set up. So for those that don't know, you can have, if you've got different locations or branches or depots, you can have depots set up that clients can either be tied to or they can have that option to select from their locations. So these will all be configurable per depot and also multi-selectable if you want. So not all these things are mutually exclusive. So yeah, building a tool to make that pretty flexible. We are adding support for custom inner drawer products, so that solves a pretty long-standing issue of having not allowing or not necessarily always knowing hinge placement at the time they're detailing their cabinet. That comes a lot later on in the process. So basically setting up a set of products that have a vertical partition on the hinge side, which will allow then the customer to have whatever they want for inner drawers up the guts. And we're also going to be exploring condensing these products. And as you would have known, in the library, we tend to separate products out quite granularly. So there's a base left cabinet, there's a base right, there's a base 2-door. We're looking at, with this product, containing that all into one. So rather than having a left cabinet 1 drawer, left cabinet 2 drawers, it'll just be a left cabinet within a drawers, and then they can set whatever heights, whatever quantities they want all within one. So yeah, first sort of look at consolidating the library a little bit to see the feedback on that, which will be exciting. We are adding a width field to edge banding to accommodate options for different for thicker boards. And then the other thing that isn't listed here is the minimum usage fee on edge banding. So that's actually something we're working on our public roadmap, which I'll show you guys, so you can make sure you keep an eye on everything that we're doing. Creating some optional in production job statuses and tasks, so that just a little bit more transparent for your customer of where they're up to or where you're up to in the process of manufacturing their order. So you'll be able to define what these options are. There's cutting, edge banding, prep for delivery completed. Just some ways to better communicate where a job's up to. AI smart search. So this is going to be pretty cool. So built on an LLM, or a large language model, with machine learning. Basically, if you don't know much about AI, that just means we're going to have a really rich data set behind this that will continually learn, and it will help to provide better recommendations to customers on types of products. So it's going to allow them to move to more natural-based searching, again, rather than, in this instance, typing in base drawers 4 and needing to know that's what that product's called. They could type in, I'm after a cabinet with 4 drawers, and then it will present them a list of options. So think of this also in areas of the room. I'm after cabinets for my kitchen or for a laundry reno or whatever it is, and it's going to present them a set of results based on that search, which would be pretty cool. Help us define the future. So as I've sort of touched on a few times, we're really big on the you ask, we listen methodology and customer-led development. We want to know what you want in the platform. We want to know what your customers are asking for. These are just some of the things that we have either released or are going to be releasing soon on the back of having people list a feature request in our platform. So if you want to do that, you can go to our feedback board, so feedback.cabinetry.online.co. You can pop in a feature request on there. While you're in there, you can also vote on other people's requests. That's really helpful for us because it helps to give us the idea of the temperature of how many people want this. But I did want to come back over to here because this is where we can see how you can access in your help and support in your menu. If you go down, you can go to feature requests, roadmap, and software updates. So software updates is just a tracker. Whenever we do an update, we post our notes of the things that are changed. Feature requests we already talked about, and the roadmap will give you a bit of an overview on what we've got coming up and what we're working on. Thanks very much, guys. Well, thank you all for listening to me for waffle on for an hour, and I'm going to pass it over to Dan Zamballo from ACFA to have a chat. Here you go, I'll give you that one. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you. All right, hello everybody. First of all, thanks very much for having me, Cabinetry.Online. Great to be here. I'm just going to talk to you for about 10 minutes about ACFA. I'm going to keep it pretty light because you've got a big day, and we're over at stand 839, so I'd love to see you at some stage. Come on over, have a chat if you've got any questions. So, I see some of you in the crowd who are already members. ACFA, Australian Cabinet Furniture Association. I'm going to tell you a bit about who we are, what we do. So this basically encapsulates what we're all about. We're here to support, protect, and promote you. So I'll tell you a little bit about our history. We've been around for 76 years. Formerly it was the FIAA. In 2019, a merger between CMA or CMDA here in Victoria and the FIAA rebranded into the Australian Cabinet and Furniture Association. And then we move forward to today, and we are merging with the Kitchen Bathroom Design Institute. That's happening now. Only a couple of days ago it was formalised. I'll talk a bit more about that as we go. We've got 700 members, 30 staff members and growing with our merger. We've got a 10-member board, one I see in the crowd. The board consists of a range of cabinet makers from one-man show to suppliers and larger operators. We've got a head office in New South, and we're also on a lot of boards and committees here to represent the industry. So, you're thinking, great, you're an association for cabinet makers, but what do you actually do? So, the two core parts of what we do is our membership base, and we're a registered training organisation as well, an RTO. So training with us is, we call it the workplace-based training system. So we train your apprentices, and instead of sending them away to be trained, we come to you. So workplace-based, the students have an online portal to do their work. The requirement of an employer is to give them a minimum of 3 hours a week to work on their studies. It can be more if you like, and that's flexible. So you might have a busy period and say, put your work aside for a couple of weeks, we'll catch up later. And they can actually go and access their work anytime, so they can work from home if they want to catch up. And we accommodate special needs as well, and our trainers are online, ready to go. The student can call or do online sessions as well. So our membership is a huge offering, and I'd like to encapsulate it by saying we help you run your business. So there's a lot to it, but a couple of the key things we do are we have on-call HR. So you can call in to our office. There's the team there waiting for your calls, and they'll help with any HR issues. So that could mean you've got staffing issues, we can do employment contracts for you, and any issues that come along, and even things like, I'm not getting paid, what should I do, legal issues and the like. So we can help with all of that. We do events, and we've got a huge host of resources online as well. So that's like swims and standard operating procedures, a lot of safety gear there. And we can tailor that to your business as well. And we're always listening to hear what you need as well. And then we've got some membership partners as well that we work with. I'm going to talk a little bit about the merger update. So, as I said, we've just been in the process of this merger for a little while, and it's all formalised now. It's board approved. The final stage is going to commence on the 1st of July. What it's going to look like in the future is ACFA is still going to be ACFA, KBDI, the Kitchen Bathroom Design Institute, will be their own thing, but any member of either will have a cross-platform access. So we've got a big focus on advocacy, training and support with this merger, and we're looking to elevate the industry standards, and we see the two sides joining together. KBDI is very design focused, interior designers, kitchen bathroom designers. We do the manufacturing. We're combining so that we can talk to each other and advocate for the industry. We've got a Connect magazine. We're on our 3rd issue now, and this is just our magazine for the industry. It's free. If you haven't got it yet, you can sign up, and you can sign up for free. You can get it delivered to you, or you can get the online copy if you prefer, and there's some great info in there. Thank you very much.